Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm going to read my script as always. Welcome to the August 12th study session of the San Luis Coastal Unified School District Board of Trustees. At this time, we'd like to ask that those in attendance, please keep your videos off and audio muted unless you're presenting information or speaking in public comment. We are offering translation services for our Spanish-speaking attendees. To access translation, please click on the globe at the bottom of your screen and then language. At this time, we would like to ask if anyone who needs translation could please click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. And actually, I see that we're waiting for the translator. So we'll hang on to that. So I'm going to go ahead and just begin the meeting at this point with the public comment. That would be 3.02. And I've got some new information to read, so this is going to take a few minutes, but I need to read it anyway. At this point in the agenda, the board welcomes comments on matters of district interest. The board will listen but cannot engage in discussion or take action on items not listed on the agenda. Generally, this section of the agenda is for individuals or a representative of a group to address the board on issues not listed on the agenda. Speakers who wish to discuss items on the agenda are requested to wait until that item comes before the board. However, comments may be given on agenda items at this time if it's not possible for a speaker to stay until the agenda item is heard by the board. If you submit written comments on a topic, you will not be allowed to also speak on that topic. Comments or correspondence submitted anonymously will not be accepted. If you wish to speak via Zoom, click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and select raise your hand. When your name is called, you may restart your video if you wish and unmute your audio. If you need assistance with your video, please let us know and we'll attempt to fix it. If you have a problem with your audio, please click on the thumbs down icon and we will attempt to assist you. Written public comments submitted prior to the board meeting will be read by Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers following the verbal public comment. All public comments will be listed to 3 minutes, a limit of approximately 450 words in written comment. You may not cede any remaining time to another speaker. Any portion of your comment extending past the 450 word limit may not be read aloud due to time restrictions. All written comments that are not read into the record will be made part of the meeting minutes, provided that such comments are received prior to the end of the meeting. Please be aware that written public comments, including your name, may become public information. And I see that we have one person who wishes to speak. Roland Smith, are you there?
I'm not seeing anybody under that name, Mr. Unger.
Let's see, I see that we have that. We have, I believe, a written comment that was just submitted, so we'll be looking at that. We may come back to that to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. Are we sure that there's no Roland Smith here?
I'm not seeing that name at all.
Okay. Well, thank you anyway. We'll go on. We'll come back to the written public comment. Mrs. Dawson, will you let me know when you've checked that for length, please? And go ahead and send it out to Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers and me. Absolutely. Great. Let's move on to item number 4.01, review of Measure D budget. Mr. Pinkerton.
Yeah, I'm actually excited that we can talk about Measure D today at a Measure D study session. So no CVRA or other issues going on. So I'm very excited to kind of give the board an update of where we're at. And I took some photos yesterday, which I'll share with everyone here yesterday as I walked through. And it's nice because we're finally at a point where we're seeing the transformation, right, of these two of mainly our two comprehensive high schools. And so just really, again, excited to kind of share where we're at and what's happening with those. So we'll start with First, I just want to give the board kind of a rundown of our CBOC. So of course, we have a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. And each year I put together kind of revenues, assumption, where we're at, both with revenues, interests, grants, as well as all the expenditures. And so this is something I share with that Oversight Committee, and we review it 4 times over the course of the year. So I'll pull that up right now for you. And we'll start there. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Hey, Mandy, can you help me blow this up?
Absolutely. You just need to go to the plus next to the 100 on your screen. Go up to the top bar there.
Hang on, I'm not seeing it anywhere.
Oh, your mouse was just over it.
Here?
Down, go down.
Okay. Mine says sharing screen, so I can't see it.
Okay, no problem. I'll be right in your office.
This one.
Grab that arm.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Now I got it. Are you guys able to see that a little bit better?
Yes.
Yeah, it was better, Ryan, for me before you made it right about there. Then I see everything on the page.
Is that okay for everyone?
Yep.
184 was good.
Okay. So this gives you kind of an overall breakdown of the budget. So we'll review this. The overall project list, for those in the audience who kind of don't know the history of Measure D dating back to 2014, we did a lot of projects at a lot of different school sites. But the main priority with Measure D, of course, was the 2 comprehensive high schools, both San Luis Obispo High School and Morro Bay High School. And so though we've done other projects that you'll see, from putting Wi-Fi in all the classrooms around the districts to, from a safety standpoint, changing all of the phone systems at every single school site, predominantly most of the dollars are going towards the 2 comprehensive high schools, who really received no upgrades with Measure A, which was a former bond override back in 1990s with the school district. So, but just kind of as a backdrop, so we had Measure D basically was voted on and brought the district $177 million in revenue, actually a little bit more than that, as you can see, through bond sales. And so we did 3 different bond sales with those dollars, and I can't see everybody, so please, board members, just speak out if there's a question that you have, if something comes up as I go through this. But we had 3 different bond sales that you'll see: 14-15, 16-17, and then 18-19. So 50 million the first, 50 million the second, and then 77 million. Now, initially, when this went out, the cost to the taxpayer was $49 per $100,000 of assessed value. So if you had a $300,000 assessed value house, your payment was roughly $150 a year, right? In property taxes increases. I believe it was in 1920, or I think 2020, because the overall property values in our school district have risen so much, that actually dropped to $39 per 100,000. So taxpayers are basically paying less now than what we had projected when they passed the bond to come up with this 177 million. And of course, as values go up into the future, that could drop again as well. And so each year that, basically the county treasurer goes, looks at it, determines how much property taxes needed to pay off the bonds, and we move forward. So one of the other positive things that we came through this was, because the district has such a high credit rating, the value of the bonds, or the amount of interest that the taxpayers have to pay back was much less than had we not had such great credit. So just an overall, I think good point for the public listening today, and even for our board to understand that, right? So as these dollars came in, of course, we didn't spend them all in the 1 year or as soon as we got them. The dollars are put in, and then we basically spend them down as the years go, as the projects are completed. So because of that, the dollars are put into the county treasury, right? Which is, of course, absolutely safe, FDIC, insured, all those things, but we did earn interest. And so what you'll see from this is that really helped our overall bottom line of revenues, because those interests goes directly into the bond program, into the projects that are being completed. Now, along with that, we have reached out through state funding, right, CT grants, to get additional dollars that we could match with our bond dollars that have come in. So you'll see Bellevue Santa Fe, 2.7 million, right? Other CTE funds that we received, 3.3 million, 4.8 million. And so all of those revenues come to this point now, adding additional, $16.7 million to bring us to the total available revenues through Measure D, 193 million. Now, on top of that, we have also used developer fees for San Luis Obispo High School projects and a few other projects where we have, where we could use developer fees because of growth. And so that was the Bishop's Peak multipurpose room. It was also C.L. Smith adding the additional TK kindergarten classes on that site. So those dollars are not reflected in this CBOC report, because for the CBOC, they only oversee the bond dollars. So on top of the 193, we have an additional almost 17 million over the course of 2014 to today, and what we project through the next 2 years. So we're really looking at an overall program with Measure D, with all the projects that you're going to see, of about $210 million.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yes.
The additional CTE funding that was received, was that dedicated to a certain site?
Yeah, those are specific projects at both Morro Bay High School and San Luis Obispo High School. So ag program, welding program, at the wood shop program, the J wing at Morro Bay High. So all of those, those were the programs where we had to write the grants to get the matching dollars. So basically offset those dollars that we were going to spend on those projects, which then allowed us to use those Measure D dollars on other things.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Buckman? You're muted.
But I'm so quiet when I'm muted. So in midway during the past year, or at some point, we were able to change the ventilation systems to keep the air cleaner. Was that something we were able to do in all of these construction, and especially in the high schools? Did we add that in?
So we actually used our COVID funding to pay for that.
Okay.
HVAC. So all the COVID funding that we received kind of went to those projects. So again, updated all ventilation systems, made sure that they were all functioning, put in new, the new ionizers, put in new filters throughout, right? They increased the HEPA filter, as much as we could, right? And still have the, have the HVAC system run. But yes, all of that was done with COVID funds. So we've really been protective of our Measure D funds, because we want to ensure, I'm going to show you the project budget next, kind of what's remaining. And so we've really tried to make sure that the rest of the Measure D funds complete all of the projects that we had talked about at the two comprehensive high schools. Chris, if you're okay, do you want me to call on people that I see? Is that okay? Mr. Krill?
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question. The 193 million, is that reflective of June 30th, 2019, or is that just a typo and it's actually 2021?
Oh yeah, that's a typo. It should be 2021. Good catch.
All right, thanks.
So this was updated as of the end of the fiscal year 2020. So June 30th, 2021. And I'll change that. So again, that's a reflection of just revenues, right? So what you'll see is, the next sheet really is, and each year I've gone over this with the CBOC, but the different costs for every single project that we've done throughout the district, right, is reflected in terms of how much Measure D dollars were spent on those. So this year, what you'll see is, or the past year, I should say, the past fiscal year, really the focus is 2 comprehensive high schools. And so a little bit on the Baywood modernization there, a little bit, we had the fire alarm system at Los Osos Middle School completely went out. So we had no choice but to get that back up and running again. So we did do that project, but really the remaining, and as we go into the future, as I share the next round of, or remaining projects basically is really focused on the 2 high schools. But this gives you a flavor of all the different things that we've done over the course of the year. Or over the course of the Measure D, since 2000, actually 14, 15, right? So you kind of get an idea. And again, what you'll see is, really the costs are now, reflective of Morro Bay High School as well as San Luis Obispo High School as you go through. And then, bottom line, we have remaining in the Measure D accounts as of today, roughly $56,389,623. And so those are the things that, I sit down with the fiscal team, with our BG&T team, and make sure, because there's a lot of moving parts, as you can imagine, with these budgets. And so, it's nice to close the end of the year out, double check, right? This is correct. This is how much we have in terms of moving forward, because the next sheet I'm going to show you, it's really important, right? That we know exactly how many dollars are left. So any other questions from the board before I move to the remaining project list on the CBOC revenues and expenditures?
Yeah, Ryan, I have a
Yeah, go ahead.
question. Can you go up on the sheet a little bit?
Yep.
Right there, stop.
Okay.
Now, I see that we spent almost $1 million at Morrow Elementary School. Can you tell me what projects we spent and what our anticipated expenses over the next maybe 10 years might be on that, at that school site?
So this was, we used some dollars. So they had the sewage system there, the infrastructure, both water lines as well as sewer lines on that campus were so bad that you couldn't even flush the toilets on the campus. So that was a main, kind of a main cost doing the infrastructure on that site. And again, not to redo the whole site, but just mainly to get the wings there to get it functioning so that it could be used at all, the site could be used. And then we also, the 579,000 was redoing, the asphalt had gotten so bad on that campus throughout the parking lot and asphalt the main campus, we had to redo the asphalt. So those costs were just a reflection of those projects at the site. Long term, we haven't touched the buildings. There's a lot more infrastructure that needs to be done. So, I mean, there's millions upon millions of potential costs for the district moving forward. We're actually updating our facility master plan, Mr. Unger. And so those costs will be reflected in that facility master plan,
Great.
which I will probably bring to the board. I'm thinking end of September, October study session.
Great. Thanks very much, Ryan.
Mr. Buckman?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Chris, really, thank you for pointing that out. So as we move forward, if we were ever to convert Morrow L to the incredibly, the staff housing that we need so badly, it sounds like a lot of this work was infrastructure. So that's it's not money that would be, that we'd have to redo. It's money that'll help us, the sewage and the water.
I think if we're going to if they're going to develop the entire site, this is probably not, the money that we put there is not necessarily going to help a development in the long term.
Okay, thanks for that honest answer.
It is helping us now. I mean, just being able to have anyone on the campus, right, for the people that rent and our adult education, preschool classes, those types of things. So, okay, so hearing no other, I'll move to no other comments. I'll move to the remaining project list. And so what I asked Kelly to do on this, and so Kelly Lee, again, just huge kudos to Kelly. Kelly Lee, who's our, kind of in charge of our bond CTE projects, getting those in. I mean, there is a ton of work putting those CTE grants together. And so when you look at the extra $10 million, in CTE projects in Bellevue Santa Fe that we've received. Really, Kelly has been instrumental in helping do that. And then we have to do full audits afterwards, right, of all the costs and where all the expenditures went. So it really is a lot of work, and she's done a masterful job. So this is projects to date. So we went through this, Mr. Bonin, Mr. Holcomb, Kelly, myself, Acme Construction Company, our design build firm, and really looking at, okay, what's remaining? What are the budgets? What are the projects that we have to do? So, and what we've done is we've tried to narrow this list. So, we have a district-wide projects, just some of the kind of all-encompassing costs that we have as a school district, from getting C-trains to sites, Mr. Holcomb's services to the district. So just a lot of different things going to the district-wide project, but that's, kind of dwindling, narrowing down. Slow-high planning infrastructure budget. We've really completed all of the infrastructure around that campus. So the loop of gas, water, sewer, electric, all of that is complete. The remaining funds in this are really to finish the ADA upgrades in the quad. So,
Mr. Pinkerton,
yes,
could you enlarge it just a little for me,
yes,
please?
absolutely.
That's much better. Thank you.
You got it. So there, there's, one of the San Luis High is built on this beautiful terraced hill. And so it's great, it's fantastic, but it's also, when you look at the ADA accessibility issues, and again, once you touch a building, once you start modernizing things, you have to do all the ADA upgrades. So that quad is, it's one of those projects on this list. It's probably the one that I'm probably most concerned about from a budget standpoint once you start getting into it. So it's something that we're constantly reviewing. In fact, we just talked, Mr. Holcomb, Mr. Bond, and myself, sending this out again to our architect to relook at the plan. Is there anything we can do to, ensure that we keep costs down, so reviewing the plans, those types of things. But that's really the remaining cost of the planning budget for infrastructure at that site. Okay. The Student Support Services Building, of course, is the new front office, which includes the theater and the new office building there, the new front of the school, the bus turnaround, all of that area. So that project is basically complete. There's a little bit of closeout DSA cost left. So that's reflected here. That project will go away once that is completed. The pool and fields projects, softball fields, the field next to the pool itself, all those upgrades basically completed. There's just a little bit of, again, DSA follow-up costs, some retention on that project that we have to pay. We are in the midst of the 100 building right now. So, and I'll share some diagrams and talk about that a little bit as we talk about projects. But the southern portion of that building, the science wing, which is more expensive than the classrooms on the north because of the science, cabinetry and those types of things that went in. But that is opening up to students this fall. And then the middle, I have some pictures to share with the board, but the middle of that is kind of wide open, top and bottom, right? Moving forward, the bottom part, of course, is kind of a multi-use room, and then the cafeteria in the back, food service, classrooms, including the digital media labs up top. And then, of course, we'll be moving. Right now, we're doing all the demo. We've moved everybody out of the north section classrooms. And so we'll be going in, and that will become the new library media center. And I'll show you those photos along with other classrooms on the north end. So still a lot of budget, a lot of things happening in terms of those two particular projects. A lot of costs there, huge building, a lot of construction. We have set aside 2.2 million remaining for the 500 wing, which is really the main portion of the 500 wing, the classroom part, where we did a couple of model classrooms there. So to kind of clean those up, make the other classrooms reflect the model classroom look, and really do the bathrooms in the 500 wing. That's what those dollars are set aside for. We have the building 300, 400. So this is the, really, we've completed the wood shop. The middle is now complete. I'll show you a picture of that as we move into projects. And we are finishing up the welding shop, which also has a architecture lab CAD lab drafting in that building as well. I'll show you a picture of that. And so that is completing. Students will be in that building in the fall. And so excited to open that up. And now we've moved to the last remaining classroom project there, which would be the agriculture classroom. So we've worked with those two teachers to get everything out, get those. And so we've actually started the demo and abatement of that building currently. So the track and field, I'll show you some pictures of that. Mr. Mano is, moving forward, really done a great job of getting that project going. We ran into a couple of significant snags in that. And one was the city sewer running through the middle of that project. And so I'll talk a little bit about that as I talk about projects with pictures as well. But that's moving forward. And so Mr. Mano, again, former SLO graduate, he is absolutely set on ensuring that we have graduation on that field. So, I'd love to see, kind of some closure with maybe some track and field, into the year meets or something there if we can. So no promises, but really look forward to that. But he's really moved quickly and has been doing a great job of getting that project going, really trying to get things in place prior to the rain, because we know a project like that, rain can really hamper it moving forward. So he's really doing everything he can to make sure that it's ready to go. The last one, Morro Bay infrastructure, we've really.
Hey, Ryan,
go ahead.
Ryan, can I ask you?
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about is where will the San Luis Obispo High School football team be playing their home games this year?
Yeah, so they only
And
have
soccer
actually
as well.
Yeah, so they only have one game, one home game scheduled, and basically just kind of move things around with the different teams as Mrs. Vidal, the AD there. So they had one game scheduled, and so I heard that they're going to potentially have it at Templeton. I don't know why they're not using Morro Bay High School, but it's something that they can use Morro Bay High School if they need to. So Arroyo Grande High School used San Luis Obispo High School a couple times last year, right, when they were kind of doing through the same project, but we can find other neutral sites for the site to use.
Perfect.
And then
Thank
soccer
you.
will be either on Taylor Field or the new field next to the pool. So it doesn't necessarily have the stadium seating so much, but they will be able to have matches there over the course of the year.
Great. Thank you.
So those are the SLO High projects. For Morro Bay High, we've really, now that the quad is done, really the remaining infrastructure there is set on doing kind of the parking lot in front of the pool area, as well as some work to the side. It's kind of a blind corner as you go around between the J-wing and the pool, and so we're changing the way the pedestrian traffic goes there. So we don't like the way it's set up with kind of the mirror system. So that's part of the plan to do that. So we've really kind of almost completed in terms of infrastructure there, because all the remaining infrastructure is within buildings B, A, and C in terms of completing that. So we're in good shape there. Building B is basically complete. Students will be going in. I'm going to share some pictures of that with the board, as we review projects. And so it looks great, beautiful, brand new. And so really, it'll be nice. I look forward to walking you through those and seeing those. Building A is the theater, cafeteria, multi-purpose room, theater class. So that's all been demoed. They're finishing the bids. We should be bringing that to the board in September, the GMP to move forward with that construction. And then we have begun, I believe on the Tuesday night board meeting, we have the GMP for the demo and abatement for building C. So we've moved those teachers out into B, which allows us to begin the construction of the last, kind of C building there. But the quad is going to be open for kids. I'll share some projects of that. So that takes us, when you look at those overall remaining project budgets, that amounts to about $64 million. In terms of looking at the next 2 years, we have currently, and I heard this from Mr. Buckman, right, worried about potential developer fees, because we're guesstimating, right, those types of things. So I've tried to be very conservative, Mark, in terms of looking at that. So we currently have almost 2.2 million in developer fees now. That will go towards this 4 million that the board is seeing. We've been receiving about 2 million a year over the past few years. So that 4 million could turn into 6 over the next 2 years. If we continue to see kind of developer fees, the money's coming in. But again, I'm going to be more conservative with that. So I do feel like we should have no problem again, over the next 2 years with the 2.2 million we currently have, being able to at least count on 4 million in developer fees. And those will go towards the growth projects at San Luis Obispo High School. And then with that, kind of guesstimating the remaining $60 million in the bank, I'm estimating about $300,000 in interest for the year. That puts us at about 59 million. Again, with the remaining cash, 56.3, we are looking at a potential deficit right now of about $3 million in projects. So, those are things that we'll continue to look at over the next few years, are the things we can cut back. Huge kudos to Chris and Ron and the team, Steve and Rick, as every project trying to really shave anything we can off, do what we can to, again, make sure that the project's done correctly, but try to save as we move forward. I'm going to share some CTE eligibility grant funds that we're going to go after too next with the board. But Mr. Buckman, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just amazing. I mean, the amount of work that's going, it seems like we're on time. I'm just a question about the 3.3 billion. My understanding is we've been really careful about staying within budget, and on a quick look, I didn't see anything that was over budget. I might be wrong. And we do the bids and we accept bids. Can you explain to me how we're getting 3.3 over budget?
Well, all of this has been an estimation as we've moved through, right? So we really don't, until we get and I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna stop sharing just for a second so I can see everybody. As you go through, all of this is estimates. All of these remaining projects that we don't have an actual GMP for right now, we're estimating based on, again, what the site has gone out, what our ACME has looked at, what the architects are telling costs are, but it's all an estimate. So until you get those actual bids in your hand to know what dollars are, you really don't. And so the projects have come in about where we're at, right? But if you look at an overall bond program, roughly $210 million of projects, and we're down to potentially about 3 million into the day, right? So, there are things that we can do, such as not do the 500 wing, take that 2.2 million for the 500 wing at Slow High and put that towards the 3 million and do that in-house like we did with the model classrooms. So there are some things we may have to do at the end of this project as we get the final numbers for the north side of the Slow High 100 building. But I do want to share one more sheet with the board. Go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask have we seen, as many of us have been reading about, I'm sure, an increase in materials as a result of the situation over the past year and a half with COVID? Have costs gone up unexpectedly on anything?
So yes, is the answer to that question. Ron, you can jump into, Chris, you can as well. But yeah, I mean, the cost of what are the boards called that we put up on the walls?
OSB.
Yeah, which is, what do they call it? There's a normal name for it.
Well,
particle board, the big particle board pieces, right? That you put up along, when you do a construction project, you put those up. Those have like 10 times cost wise have gone up over time. So yeah, there is some, things like that are definitely affecting some of the bids that we're seeing. I mean, we're still staying within kind of what our estimates were though, overall, I would say. I mean, it's not like we estimated 5 million and it's coming in at 10.
Right, but it does have an impact. It does have an impact on the bottom line.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Commodity prices are going up, no question about it. So steel, drywall, lumbers in particular have been horrible. Right. So as Ryan mentioned, a sheet of OSB has gone from $12 to $65. You know, we're seeing those kind of startling increases, but we calced in a lot of inflation, so we're still within the range of being able to complete our projects.
Okay, great,
Oh, if I
thank you.
can, sorry, Ellen. So is there an inflation factor built into our contracts? Are the contractors saying, or is that something new? So we're
built into our
absorbing all that cost?
We have no choice. It's built into our budget, so.
So what we've done, Mark, is when we got the estimates from Acme like a long time ago, 5 years ago, right? There was a factor that was built in to the GMPs that we had put in the project list, the estimated budgets that we were going to move forward. So and those are, you know, in some cases those are coming to fruition, right? So you know, as they've said, so we're, you know, again, we're like right at what they said it was going to cost. We're very close to those, you know, as the bids have come in, we've been pretty close to those.
I think Marilyn is next.
Yeah,
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if you could, I know that we have encountered several unforeseen conditions that necessitated additional cost. And I wonder if you could just maybe explain a couple of them, because
Sure.
they that
Well,
does bump things up, and they were not anticipated.
Well, the
Yeah,
largest,
so go ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Ron.
the largest one we're wrestling with right now is the second floor of the 100 building. And I call it being aware of what happened in Florida, but originally when that was designed, it was designed with lightweight concrete. And there's no structural failure there, no concern of one, but the original design team didn't analyze, or the structural engineer didn't analyze the loading factor and the impact of boring holes in that slab. So in an abundance of caution, we've taken a left-hand turn, and Ryan can go into it, but you'll see it coming up, where we've changed the actual usage so that we lightly load that floor. It has no failure, but it has no safety margin. So, you know, that Florida incident brought us all to direct attention, and we took a different course on design.
Another example, Maryland, would be the track. So there is a sewer line that runs underneath the track. It's a city sewer line. They have an easement for, right? So basically, you know, when that came about, we found that that sewer line was not going to stay, and you know, we don't want to build a brand new track over a sewer line that they may have to dig up, right, in 5 years type of thing. So that really, you know, came to head, like, what do we do, you know, with this? And so, you know, we couldn't play hardball with the city, because if we cap the sewer line outside the track, all of our sewer goes through that sewer line. So that wasn't, you know, that wasn't something that we could play hardball with the city. So I will say Chris Bonin, masterful job, got the city to pay for half of it, right? So just little things like that. But again, that was, you know what, Chris, what was the total cost of the sewer line?
88,000.
So, you know, there's 44 grand, right? One thing right there. So, and there's been, you know, there's other issues. The, you know, just things that from the field, from the architect plans that aren't there, right, that come up. Now the board, you know, when you approve a GMP, you also approve a contingency factor, right? So you've put in a certain amount that, hey, if things, you know, these types of things like the sewer goes on, that we go towards those. And listen, we've been able to stay within those contingencies that the board has set through those GMPs. That's why you don't see us coming back to you a lot with, hey, we need to raise this GMP because, oh, this happened or that. You know, we've really tried to stay, and that is because Chris and Ron and Rick and Steve make sure that when these things come up, that we're getting multiple bids, that we're making sure that, you know, that we're only doing what we absolutely have to do to move forward. But there, so the slow high top, the top floor is a big one, which I'm going to show you some photos of as we go through projects and explain that a little bit better. But really, like the southern quad right now. So this is the quad area between the southern 100 building and the auto shop. I mean, that has just been, that hill ADA ramp that we put there has just been a disaster. I mean, just left and right, things just coming up that were not in the plans, unforeseen. You know, just all kinds of things, right? So we're taking that contingency all the way to the line as we move forward. But it's, you know, those are things that, you know, we battle through with both
So
sides.
even with the contingency, which is probably 10% or
5
somewhere,
in some cases, right?
okay. Have there been overruns due to unforeseen conditions that would factor into that $3 million? I'm trying to,
The only, like I said, the only thing that I'm worried, no, in terms of that, no. I think this is just our you know, in terms of looking at overall estimates of what the projects cost, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, in terms of, so we've tried to, you know, for the most part, as we've projected budgets, we've tried to budget for those unforeseen potential issues, right? So that those are kind of built in there. The quad at Slow High is the only one I, you know, of all projects, that's the one I'm most concerned about.
okay.
Because of
thank
what
you.
we've seen with the southern quad area.
But Marilyn,
Right,
you're
so-
right. You're right in one respect. You know, this is a big bowl of soup and everything affects everything else. So when we save money, like we saved money on building B at Morro Bay, well, that moves forward in the budget and helps relieve some of these other issues.
$1 million. So the board's GMP for building B came in maybe even over that, but really $1 million under what the GMP was. So those are just dollars that we just transitioned to other projects, right? That we're gonna need. So you know, there's been projects like that we've saved a lot of money, done a great job. And there's other projects that, you know, the 300 wing, so the welding, construction, ag buildings, those are going to go right to the GMP and contingency. You know, so it just depends on each project, kind of has those different things, you know, as part of it.
My memory is that the pool at Morro Bay encountered some underground and utility related issues that pushed the costs up on that. And I just was wondering if that was how that factored in.
A little bit, but the beautiful thing about the Morro Bay pool is it was built in 2014. So and what you'll see is it costs almost double today to build that same pool, right? Not that the projects are the same, because they're not. The pool is the same, but I mean, it, like, if you want to see escalation factor, look at the overall cost of what we paid for the Morro Bay High pool, and then look at the pool at Slow High. Now the fields are a big part of that as well, right? But those are the things that, I mean, that's the kind of cost escalation that we've seen over the time period, right? For particular projects.
And we attribute that to materials increases, not labor increases.
It's both. It's both. It's lack of contractors. It's you know, it's $500 million worth of bond projects between Cuesta, Lucia Mar, us, you know, throughout the county. So there's a lot of contributing factors that go into it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So you know, on a good note, I'll share that we, you know, thanks to Kelly and Chris and a consultant, we are going after our state matching eligibility. So so these are things that we're working right now to put forward. So Bishop's Peak with that office mod project, we can go after, you know, a little over $1 million. CL Smith with the office expansion project, $382 million. Morro Bay High, $553 million, and then $2.3 million with the new gym modernization project. So these are dollars. So you have basically, the district has eligibility based on how old the building is. And so as we've gone through this Measure D project, what's happened is eligibility has popped up for buildings as they become old enough, right, to kind of meet the state criteria. So when the state sells bonds, when the state passes their own school bonds, dollars go towards that state eligibility, right? So of course we're going to go after any and all funds that we can go after, right? And so what you're seeing is we're going to go after these $4.3 million, which long-term can help us with this $3.3 million. The problem with that is what'll happen is we'll put this paperwork through, we'll do it. The district may not actually see these dollars for 5 to 6 years. right? Because it's all based on kind of everyone who's in line at the state, how much state bonds they've sold, when they sell them, those types of things. So, but it still means that we should still go after it. We should still get in line. We should still have those dollars. So this isn't mandated cost makeup money. These are actual dollars that we should receive as a school district in the future. If we put these through, if we get eligibility.
So we can put our projects through Maryland and the board, and they'll be approved, but unfunded until the bonds are sold at the state level.
Yeah.
So when we can backfill with those funds, some of them are made eligible by the work we've done under Measure D, which was done largely without state dollars. So.
So that those monies, when received, could help to backfill any additional costs.
Yes.
Measure D costs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So what we found out is, any general fund dollars that we use, basically this can go back into the general fund. If we use Measure D or building funds, then those dollars have to replace, building funds, basically have to go back into a building account. So it's just, how as we move forward, as we pay these projects, whatever dollars we receive, that's what it will replace. But either way, it's dollars, towards construction in the future that the board can allocate how they want. But so, yeah, so I mean, it's still exciting, right? Again, we should move forward and let's get $4.3 million for the future. So, again, just a positive thing for us to look at. So overall, I still have a good feeling about where we're at, where things are going, overall positive. I think we're going to have absolutely. I mean, when I walked around the two sites and I'm going to share this kind of just photo collage with you. It was really, really exciting for me to kind of like, you can now you can kind of see it. You walk up to Morro Bay High and you look at that campus and you can see the change, the transformation happening. Walk through the quad, those types of things. Same with Slow High. You walk up, you see that new office building, the flag up front, right? And you see what the 100 building is going to look like. It's just really, it really transforming these campuses. So any other questions about the budget? Because I'm going to transition over, and that would be for the public too. Anybody who has any questions budget-wise, I'm going to transition to the photos.
Can I ask a question?
Talk about some of those projects individually.
Just sort of a more general question, and I don't know if either Mr. Holcomb, Ryan, or you would have a sense to this. So, I mean, we have some deficit. What did you say? $3.3 million at this point, which we hope to be able to make up over time.
Yes.
But that's what, 2%, something like that, 1.5% of our total, $200 million budget. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we should be able to complete most everything. Now, my question is, do we have any idea about other school districts and how they do in terms of managing their money? Because it seems to me like we've done a pretty good job, and I hear anecdotally that other school districts get mired down in things and are not able to complete the projects that they promised the public they would build. Do any of you have a sense for like what that might look like? And are we doing a lot better than most school districts? I'm just kind of want to get a sense for that.
Well, I've watched a lot of bond programs over the years, and it's not at all unusual if they lay out remember the bond language is always really general, but they lay out a list of projects. It's not unusual for them to get 60, 70, 80% of the way through and run out of money. Mm-hmm. I don't have specific examples for you, but it's very common. So to complete 100% is always that's hitting the ball out of the park in my world.
Very rare to complete a whole bond. Everything you set out to do. I mean, I have some intimate knowledge of Templeton. They didn't complete everything they said they would do by far. So they're going to need to go out for another bond to finish what they said they would do the first time around.
I think Atascadero's in the same boat, aren't they, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, for whatever it is we're doing right, and I think we know what we are. We've done our contracts well. We've had good relationships with our architects and our contractors. They know what our expectations are. Thanks to Mr. Holcomb, Mr. Pinkerton, and Mr. Bonin. And I think we still have a couple of years left, but at this point, I think the way things are moving, we should pat ourselves on the back for the fiscal responsibility our district has shown toward our taxpayers. So I want to thank all of you guys.
I think the other thing, Chris, too, is the product that we're giving the kids and staff and the public is fantastic, right? So, I mean, it's not like we haven't, it's not a campus full of portable trailers, right? Or, other things like these are state-of-the-art, beautiful facilities that, I mean, really people will walk through and kids are going to use for the next 70 years, right? Like when you think about how long this is going to last for kids, it'll be a real positive. Marilyn?
Yeah, I don't want to belabor this too much or blow our own horns too loudly, but I'm really proud of the way we have been transparent about this bond since the very beginning, and that we had the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee that provided accountability. That we had to be accountable to, that we brought on Mr. Holcomb as a consultant to help us keep costs in line, and that we've been really open with the public about what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how it's going. So I feel proud of this group effort. I think we have every reason to feel very good about what San Luis Coastal has done here.
And I'll toot Chris Bonnet's horn a little bit now. So, and that is, I mean, we are so fortunate in terms of what he has been able to do with staff. So Chris has like single-handedly gone in, met with all the teachers, found out what they needed for their classes, made sure that they have everything that in place, ordered everything himself. He was just at Slow High walking the staff through the 100 building to talk about all the new features and kind of, letting them see their new classrooms and what's there and how to use it and what to do. And, he's going to follow up with them after the first couple of weeks of school to make sure that they have everything that they need. But like that customer service part of it, and again, you'll hear some things because things aren't always perfect, right? But his customer service in terms of just follow up with staff has been, I mean, phenomenal, right? And so we do have some issues right now, just to be quite honest with you, with the furniture delivery at Morro Bay High School B Wing. The student desks are there, the teacher podium's there, but we're still missing like the Han cabinets for them and a teacher desk. But the tech is coming in, like everything is there except for those. But just for the board to know, like I think Chris was telling me from the furniture person, the Han order itself was changed 14 times, like from when it was ordered to like the actual delivery by the company, right? Like 14 changes. So when we talk about the effects of the economy and ordering things, those types of things, but overall, I mean, we've gotten things in place for kids, to be ready to start. So again, huge kudos to Chris for doing that with staff.
Okay, and I didn't forget Chris Bonin when I
no, I know.
suggested that Mr. Holcomb had been very valuable to us. Mr. Bonin is too large and wonderful to forget. And so I definitely acknowledge his contributions as well.
Thank you.
Ryan, before you move on to item 4.02, I just want to remind everybody that we did have a written public comment, but we'll read that after item 4.02. It did come in during the public comment time, but of course, we needed to make sure that it was within our time limits. So I just want to remind the board and the public to hang on after 4.02 for that particular public comment. Thanks. Go ahead, Ryan.
So this next part, I just want to walk you through some photos that I took yesterday of the, again, remaining projects that are happening right now, things that have just completed. And then I'm going to show you a layout of the new plan for the 100 building that we had to, and talk a little bit about that with the board. So, and kind of what that entailed. So talking, for Maryland's sake, what are unforeseen things that we've had to deal with? This was a big one that we're right in the middle of right now. And I think we have a beautiful plan to kind of move forward with it. But let's look at the slideshow kind of presentation real quick. So, and I'll just go through this again, chime in, jump in at any time if you have any questions, but you know, and just so the board knows, I had a photographer go through both San Luis Obispo High School and Morro Bay High and take photos of every single inch of the campuses. So that when we're all done 2 years from now, that I'm going to do a before and after kind of presentation that we can put on the website to show people what it looked like then and what it looks like now, because it's easy to forget, right? What the restrooms were like for kids in the classrooms, and the, you know, that you could feel the breeze through the wall and all those things, right? That that it used to look like. But yeah, we have a record of that, which is beautiful. But again, as I drove up to Morro Bay High, I just stopped my car real quick and just took a couple of pictures, right? Because, you know, when you walk onto a campus, when you that first initial presentation, right? When you look at a campus, it tells a lot, right? About the district, about the school itself. Again, we want kids and staff and our community to take pride in our schools and what they look like. And so, man, when I popped out, I just took a quick look, and again, it just looks so good. You know, kind of just that initial presentation now, right? Because we repainted this P wing, which is the science building. We got the new fencing along, you know, security fencing along the front. That along with the new student support center, right? The flag there, the lawn, the new drought resistant landscaping in the front. Just a beautiful initial impression, right? As you go through. This is the back of the Student Support Center. This is the front of the new B building, right? Which is the new classroom building that students will be going into and staff in the fall. This grass area near the quad has been.
Ryan,
yeah, go ahead.
Can you enlarge these like you did? This is more, you know, these are as pretty as the numbers.
Are they bad for you guys to see?
They're tiny. Well, for me, it's tiny.
Is it bad? Is everybody else the same?
No, I'm good. It's
Okay.
got
It's me.
3/4 of my screen.
Mark, you can go to view options at the top of your screen and zoom in that way as well.
Thank you.
Okay, because it's showing up huge on mine, so that's might be my bad. But again, so the front of the campus, again, this is the back Student Sports Center. What we found was the kids love this grass area. So lunch, quad, break time, a ton of kids sitting out here, you know, as well as in the, you know, now that the quad area is open. But again, this is the new wing. This front area there is is kind of a special day class for our TLC class there. So they have kind of an outdoor area, which is its own fenced area there that ties in. But this is
Mr. Pinkerton?
Yes, go ahead.
I know we've made an effort to minimize, it doesn't look like it in these photos, but to minimize the grass and to try to use drought tolerant. But are these grassy areas irrigated with the non-potable water from our well on site?
No, they're from the well we irrigate all the landscape with. So
Which is,
it's a natural well.
is it potable water?
Not to drink, no.
Okay.
It's an irrigation well.
Excellent, thank you.
So the answer to your question, Marilyn, yes, right? You'll see throughout the district projects where we've tried to, again, less grass, more, you know, more landscaping, those things. But there is a certain amount of grass, you know, just again, from an aesthetic standpoint, along with kids, right? Just using that, it is, I think, important, right? In terms of student use. But you'll see with the quad photo, you know, there are a few grass areas, but there's also a lot of concrete walkways. You see the new seat walls for kids to sit along, right? Planted new trees. They were out putting the new tables together for the students to use, right? For break and lunch to sit at. You know, we're going to have to wait to see kind of the first couple of days, first week of school, because the food truck will be at Morro Bay High School, right? They'll be utilizing that for student lunches. Of course, all meals are free for kids now. To kind of see, where do the kids hang out? Where do they go? What's it like? We do have to cordon off the grass areas in the quad for the next month while they go through kind of their warranty period with the contractor. But again, there's the grass there. There's the grass in front of the science wing that they can use as well. You know, there should be plenty of room for kids in terms of places to hang out and be. And again, you know, when you look at the old pictures of the quad versus the new pictures of the quad, it, you know, very dramatic change. So we did go ahead and begin the kind of the side you'll see on the left-hand side. We did some demo work in the C building just to get that area ready to go so that we could open up this portion of the quad to kids. So some of that fencing will go away. We'll keep some fencing around the grass areas just for a month until the warranty of grass is set. But you'll also see some of on the left-hand side there, and actually all along the back, you'll see some of that drought-resistant landscaping as well, right? We've tried to mix that in along with a few grass areas for kids. So again, just a picture aside, if you remember the B building, this used to have like the plexiglass, kind of sides, right? The bottom portion, which was really, you could feel the air go through. But now new windows that open, right? New doors, new ventilation system. So it really looks good, as you kind of see that classroom, what the classroom look will be like from the outside. So at Morro Bay High School, I will tell you, we are using every single space for classrooms. So because we've jumped into C to get those classrooms done, now this campus will have a ton of extra classroom space when we're finished. But for now, it's tight, right? Because we're in A and in C as we move forward. So the site is using some of the interior hallways, which used to be the areas where kids would walk in between the classrooms, are now, there eventually will become breakout spaces for the classrooms for kids to use. Think of those innovative type of spaces that we have at our elementary sites, but we're actually using some of those for classrooms. And they have whiteboards. They have, as you'll see, they have TVs that roll, so teachers can utilize these spaces for now. Just in terms of this year as we move forward. So again, like I said, though the teacher desk hasn't come in, or the cabinetry or the file cabinets yet, we do have student desks, we do have the new student chairs, we do have the teacher podium in the front. So, we've put some extra, basically kind of temporary tables in there to help the teachers write, but all the new technology is working. Their new, phones are in, the new computers are in for them, which we were amazed at actually that they were able to get in on time. And the IT department will be handing those out. This is a picture of the special education room that I talked about. So the special day class, they wanted kind of some special, areas to have counseling sessions, kind of a different setup. And this feeds right into our culinary arts classroom in that building. So beautiful new cabinets, new setup for the CT program there. One of the things that kids and staff appreciate probably the most is new restrooms. I mean, that was, I think with kids, probably one of the number one things with Measure D that they would complain about their facilities, right? So I just took a quick shot. Just so the board knows, we have gender neutral restrooms, right? In all of our buildings. So these are the single stalls, as well as we do have the gang, both girls and boys restrooms, throughout this facility. So this was the area in between, again, that used to have kind of this old rundown landscaping, right? This was backed up to the main office, kind of the principal's office on the right-hand side. But again, new exteriors, new paint, looks great. This is just another shot of the other side hallway classroom, kind of, interior space that'll be used for classroom. This is one of the, the boys kind of, again, a multi-use restroom, right? This is the P building. Mr. Bond, when is this grass going to be out of warranty and available for kids?
Another couple of weeks.
Okay, so close on this as well. So again, we try to do larger walkways, right? Because what we know from kids is that they will take the shortest route possible, right? Whenever you have grass. So hopefully we can keep them on the big, large pathways and off of the grass, right? But it definitely, these are really at Morro Bay High School, these are the only 2 grass areas. So it's really that in between the student services building and the quad, and then this grass building. And when you think about like at Slow High, they have that whole quad area, right, of grass and area there. So these are the, Morro Bay High, as much as we have concrete, we have other things, I do think it is nice to have a little bit of grass area for them to be able to utilize.
And that particular spot, it was always really barren. So to see this landscape and,
Yes.
and looking a lot better, it's better for the students. They'll have a place to go. But
Yes.
again, it's one of those things when you come up to the high school, this is what you're going to see. You're not going to see basically, dirt, because that's what was there before.
Yeah. And, staff would try to do some native gardens and things like that, but then they wouldn't keep it up. And then it just becomes all weeds. There's just a lot of issues. So this is, there's that balance, right? It's nice because we can just mow it. It's, you don't have to worry about weeds. You don't have to worry about using Roundup or other things. So there's that balance with drought resistant. A little bit of grass I think is good, but hopefully we've maintained, kind of that climate friendly, overall campus structure there. So then moving to Slow High, right? As you move up, again, that track and field project is rolling. Mr. Mano, they've already got the brand new light standards in that you'll see there, right? So fantastic. The sewer line is done. We had another issue at this track project with the where the new concession stand building and restrooms is going to go. With the storm drain had to be lowered. He's gotten that completed. So again, just rolling through this project, getting as much of this groundwork done. Because if he can get that asphalt for the track in, then he is in great shape if rain comes our way, right? And we can only hope that it's going to rain. As much as it's bad for construction projects, we need water. This is, kind of just poking into the fence that, they're putting kind of a seating wall along the side there that used to just be the hill, right? But yeah, just making great progress. There's going to be again, the walkway that goes around the new track there. You'll see they're putting some retaining walls in for the track itself. And then the overall just kind of view of the site, right? But yeah, those light standards have come in.
Ryan.
Yep.
Mark again. You mentioned that they're going to put in asphalt. I'm thinking that was a sort of a nickname for the track surface.
That's the track surface. So they actually put the asphalt in, and then the synthetic track goes on top of that.
Thanks.
So then, like I said, right, just presentation of the campus. So no longer do parents have to walk to the middle of the school to find the offices, right? Or to go to the attendance office, those types of things. Now it's right here, right in front, right? Pop up, buses can drop off here, parents can drop off, right? Just a really nice presentation as you enter campus. Of course, the security fencing there, all part of, when we talked about facility master plan, we'll talk about, kind of the district office and ADA accessibilities with that and being able to lock off the back half of that campus. I moved up to the 300 building. So this is the CTE wings, the 3 CTE wings that we talked about. So this is the outside of the welding building, right? So again, new HVAC system, new exhaust systems for them, new roofing, new windows that open and close, new doors, right? To be able to bring in machinery into the equipment, new outside work areas for the shop. So really increase their square footage dramatically by having these areas. And then this, of course, was the wood shop, the middle building there, which has the new restrooms, both gender neutral, single restrooms, as well as the gang restrooms on this end. It's why we started with that building, was to get those restrooms in place. But there is a new computer lab that's in this building that can be used by anyone on campus, but really it was meant to kind of be a CTE computer lab for them. But the new wood shop as well looks fantastic. They got the wood storage all set up now. It looks like Home Depot in there, right? As you go through, and I mean, just fantastic. I've never seen Mr. Brewington so happy, in terms of overall facility and just kind of the setup, right? And they're working away in there. And again, we've already started gutting and getting the ag classrooms ready to go. So update on the welding shop. So again, the kind of the west portion of that building that I showed you for welding is the CAD drafting architecture room. So we've put those CAD drafting tables in. The new computers are coming in right for that program. So it's going to be a brand new, beautiful setup. And that really, again, opens up to, so this is just another view of those CAD drafting tables, right, program. So then if you look at the kind of turn around and look at the rest of the building, you'll see that we've really opened this whole area up. So there's really this huge, large workspace, right? Both for the welding, CAD drafting, all of the new kind of, like we saw at the J-Wing, the board has seen at the J-Wing, right? All the different components and, from making plastic structures to, to metal work, but really state of the art, throughout this building. So again, I just took a few photos of those. And then the actual kind of metal welding shop is being put in place now. So you see the laser cutter here in the front of the picture. The welding booths are in the back there that are all getting set up. You'll see at the top there, we have the drop down airlines, just all types of things, as well as the new floors there throughout. So just a lot. And so again, kudos to Chris Bonin, Steve Stewart, working with Mr. Fay, getting all these things ready to go. And yes, is it going to be up to the first day of school to get everything in place? Absolutely, right? Will it be absolutely perfect the first week of school? Probably not. But, again, as we go through this, as we get through the first month of school, like it is a beautiful facility, something that we can definitely be proud of, and really state-of-the-art CTE facility for our students, right, to be able to use.
I'll just
Chris,
add.
anything else, Chris, you want to add? Yeah.
I'll add that, just so you know, this space right here is probably the most complicated space we have in the district to do as far as infrastructure, getting everything lined up, everything in place. So we're pretty proud we got to where it is for the first day of school.
So again, to the right of that, there's a huge roll-up window, and I should have taken a photo of it, but I didn't. But they have a huge outdoor area too now that's all gated, fenced off, right? So they can, the square footage goes even out more, right, for them to be able to use, as well as Mr. Brington has that for the wood shop as well. So just, beautiful. So this then is the area in between that we've had a lot of issues. So Maryland, right? When we talk about these unforeseen circumstances and things, and really things that architects missed, right? As we've gone through this area has just been a pain, to be quite honest with you. So, and we've had to push back. For one example, we got a bid to do the waterproofing. And I'll see everybody want to go, but we got a bid to do the waterproofing on the backside of that block wall that goes down, right? $17,000 to spray waterproofing on the side, right? And so when we looked at the labor, and there's only one bid that we got back for that, and it was a hard no. Like no, right? Like that seems ridiculous. So will you do it on T&M? Which means, hey, times and materials, right? We have our inspector follows you, watches you, and hey, listen, if the time and material is really what you're saying and the cost is really that much, okay, we're good with it. But this contractor said, nope, won't do it for time and materials. So we said, okay, bye. We're not using you. And went back to Acme and said, we'll find somebody else, right? Go find somebody else to do it. So we got another contractor who's doing some other work there, Tarleton, and they were willing to do it initially for a few $1,000s less than that. But we asked them to do it on time and materials, and they were willing to do it. So again, our inspector watches it, gets the tickets for that job. So, at least we'll know that it's the real cost of doing that work, right? And not just this lump sum, hey, this is what we want to get paid to do this. So that's just one type of way that both Chris and Ron and our team, kind of push back, right, when things come up. Eve.
Hi, I've never heard time and materials versus another way. So you say it's lump sum versus an itemization?
So oftentimes they will, like for a project like that, we'll ask for like 3 bids. And so when a contractor puts a bid together, they're basically saying, hey, this is what, on their own, right? Their own paperwork, they're saying what it's going to cost, labor, materials, and then they put their own profit margin in. And then they give that to us, right? And so again, think of the track and field. Mr. Mano won the track and field at an $8 million bid. The next bid was $600,000 more, right? So Mr. Mano really cut it tight in his profit because he really wanted that project, right? So that then was great for the school, for us, because we got that project at a cheaper price. But so that happens throughout our projects, just with bids. We call that a lump sum bid.
So that means getting paid for your time and your materials and no profit?
No, and profit, right? And profit.
Oh.
But the difference with a time and materials is we're not just, taking their word for what it's going to be.
It's an itemization, right?
It's actually our inspector going and seeing, okay, there were 2 guys working here for 8 hours on Monday and Tuesday, and send me the bill for the actual paint that you used and the equipment that you used, right? The actual cost of that. So you're getting a real cost, right? They still get profit because that's based on, on the time and materials part of it. There's a profit that's part of it, but it's not just what they say it's going to be.
I see, not an estimate, and it's an actuality.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
thanks for the explanation.
It's important to point out, we don't do this on major projects. This is
No.
for changes.
Yes.
This is for small items.
Oh,
So you can take a change order and say, give me a lump sum. You can go to your schedule of values that you turn in when you bid the job, and we can pick it up off the schedule of values. That means 200 feet of some material times $10 a foot. We can get those unit costs, or we can do time and material. And in this case, we chose time and material because we felt the lump sum was just out of reason. There wasn't anything on their schedule of values to tie it to. So we went time and material. And now it may be that we spend 16 of that 17,000, but we highly doubt it. In other cases where we've used this and tracked it and had our inspector follow them around, it's sometimes 40, 50, 60% of those lump sums. So it's just a method to keep people honest on changes, which are largely uncategorized. So, and that's why we use that methodology, but we're careful where we employ it. We certainly wouldn't do a major project that way.
thanks for the explanation.
So again, completing this, we've actually left the stairs to the 500 building in place so that the kids, they have an area to kind of come up to the science room, science rooms. This is the 100, the new 100 wing right on the right-hand side there. And then they'll also be able to come from the CTE as well as from the math building around the backside into this building. Oops, sorry. So I just took a couple other pictures. So this is the backside of the, again, this is the new science wing, right? The 100 building there, just kind of see some outside pictures, of course, new roof, new HVAC, new windows opening, right? New doors. This was the former theater on this end, right? So the reason why this particular classroom here on this end doesn't have like a bunch of windows in it is because it structurally, we couldn't put them in. So that's the only reason why there's not windows on that end, right? So those are just architectural things that we had to deal with. But on the other side, so this is the front end, and imagine now what this is going to look like when you look at the entire building across, right, when we're completely finished. But just again, a lot of windows, a lot of opening, open air types of things, which again the staff complained about, right? Those old. Remember they had those little old offsets that were kind of L's, right, with the blue panels on them and things. So just really beautiful style, fits in with the kind of the old look, the old gym and those types of things. So just really nice. They are setting up, right, as they go through, we're going to begin construction between, start that quad as we go through, right, in between the 500 building and the 100 building. And so they're putting together this kind of student walkway there to protect kids along the 500 building once that construction is happening on this side. This is just I took some pictures of the inside of the science wing. So again, new tables are there, new chairs. These science tables basically roll around so they can adjust them, move them, roll them up to the sink if they're going to do an experiment, or they can roll them back and have group projects or use them as just your normal tables, right, as we go through. But, the teacher desks are in, TVs are in, teacher stools. Jeremy just told me all the computers have come in. So just, really nice in terms of, these rooms as we go through cabinetry. This is looking at the other side of it of the cabinet. So you'll see some of the classrooms, like the labs where they do chemistry experiments, have those, what are they called, Chris? What are these in the back called?
Fume hoods.
So yeah, fume hoods there, right? For them to be able to do things. And again, teachers can, show the class experiments. You'll see some of those, right, as we go through. There's a fume hood itself. This is the old science wing. Each teacher kind of had their own little science, kind of area where they kept all their stuff. And really, honestly, it was just like a pigsty of, stuff that they had, teachers even before them had left in their rooms, right, over, 80 years type of thing. But this is a new area for the entire science wing to share, to use. So they'll have their freezer for their, dissection, animals. They have another fume hood to do their own individual experiments here, but sinks and cleaning beakers and, all of that. We've ordered all new supplies for them to use in their classrooms. We've really tried to not have anything that's old and come into these new spaces, right? We want to keep them pristine. And with that, one of the messages that goes out as Chris walks teachers through the buildings, I'll let you know, and he does this, is we make everyone really sure and that they understand that we want to keep these facilities beautiful. And we're not just hanging stuff all over the walls and doing things, right? Like, keep them nice and neat. You have your one area, your one corkboard area to post stuff. You can use magnets on your whiteboard and things, but really trying to not have a bunch of, junk or outside things in these rooms as we move forward. But this will be a really nice area for the teachers to be able to use and share. This is just another picture of one of the inner science classrooms. So though it's an inside classroom that doesn't have the direct light, there are a lot of windows, a lot of, area light there. So one to be able to use. Again, another shot of restrooms, right? Which is, this building also has the gender neutral single restrooms for kids to use, right, and staff, as well as has the gang restrooms for boys and girls, right? They did put in a hallway. So this is kind of an area that separates the middle construction of the 100 classrooms with the classroom itself, right? So just for the board to know, right, as we've gone through, we are putting up these safety types of areas to ensure that students and staff are safe as construction continues on the campus. This is just a backside just to show the board, right? Like we're already doing the abatement demo in the northern end, and we're going gangbusters in the middle right now, putting everything together. And so I'm going to stop share here, and I want to show you the new plan for the middle section and northern end of the 100 building. So as Ron outlined, so what we got into the top, demoed everything, and they started doing some analysis of the floor on the second floor, right? So this is right during the time that we had this major collapse in Florida, right? So it was like an eye opener for all of us, I think, with that. And so, they were starting to throw all these options out of what could we do and put this new floor right. And yeah, we could make the floor stronger up top, but even by spending the money to make the floor stronger, it still wasn't up to the standard of what the pounds per square foot that you really need for a library, right? And though our library spaces are not like the libraries of old where you just have book stacks everywhere, right? And that's kind of why we talked about putting it up there in the first place. The thought came over me and in talking with Ron and Chris, like, what happens when we're gone? What happens when we're not here anymore? And 30 years from now, they put a bunch of stacks up here potentially things change. And, you know, we allow that to happen on our watch, right? So that wasn't something I could live with or move forward on. So it was kind of like, hey, and the other part too, is if we changed and made the top floor stronger, it's almost like a domino, because then what about the beams that are holding up the floor? You might have to do the structural changes on those. And so we're talking millions of dollars, right, of increases. So it was kind of like, okay, let's time out. Let's get back, right? Let's meet with our architect, Gary. Let's rethink this. Can we move the library media center to the bottom again, make the top classrooms like it used to be, right? And still make this a beautiful, you know, space. And in a lot of ways, I think you're going to see, it actually probably works out better to have the library media center, career center on the bottom floor, because then kids don't have to walk up the stairs to get to it. And it can be open in the afternoons and at night, and we can still shut off the multi-purpose room or classrooms if we needed. So, but I just want to kind of share that with you. And again, this keeps our cost dramatically down to what we had expected by doing this. And there's no, you know, liability issues that I have to, you know, sleep on at night, right, in terms of moving into the future. So Ron, Chris, anything you want to add before I show the layouts?
I think we're good.
Okay. Ron?
Well, the light just came on for all of us. Why would we go down this path of exposure? Just move the facility. We hadn't started the north wing of the 100 building yet, so we could reformat quickly and inexpensively. So we spent pencil lead as opposed to sticks and bricks and 2x4s.
So let me pull those up really quick. So this is going to be this is what we have. And again, they're putting this together, and I'll blow it up. I'll blow it up real quick. Just have to move my bar. So this is kind of the potential new layout. So hang on. And I'll do top to bottom here. So I'll move it, but this top has not changed. So this area that has the computer classroom, the broadcast room, control center, and the photo lab, that's all the same. So nothing changed with that. The two girls and boys restrooms on this wing, the stairs, all of that is still the same from the original design, which was good because we put a ton of infrastructure, a ton of work, the plans, like that would have been a major revision change had we changed any of that. So we just left that the same. This is where the school will do Tiger News Network, right? Out of the broadcast room there, ties right into the digital media lab. Chris did a ton of work with our teacher of the year, county teacher of the year, Zach Roper, right? To get that all together along with the photo lab. So this is going to be a beautiful CTE space at the top of this building.
You might point out we're on the second floor of the 100.
Now this is the second floor of the 100 building. The bottom section did not change. So as we move down, then this is the change. So this area where you see the classroom 208, 219, 203, 204, 205, that was all going to be the new media center library. So what we did was we basically just took that footprint. We took 5 classrooms at the bottom floor, the north side, and put the same exact, you know, footprint there, and then turn this back into classrooms. Okay, so which again, the pounds per square foot, the floor, all of that meets all the requirements, no issues at all with that. And so these will be beautiful, you know, beautiful classroom spaces, right? That will be used. So that the key at SLO High is we have to maintain classroom space. That's the campus where, you know, we can't lose a lot of classrooms. We got to maintain classrooms. So we actually, I think, gained space by moving the library down with some of the other things. So this is the top area there. There is an elevator at the front, right? So the old elevator used to be at the back of this building. It's now kind of a prominent feature of the architect in the front, right? Along with the, even against my will, the clock tower, right? I know Mrs. Eisendrath Rogers liked that idea, right? Mr. Bonin liked the idea. So I lost on that one, but it's okay. It's all right. That clock doesn't work. I'm going to blame Mr. Bonin, but
Right.
Just so we're all clear.
Back to the future.
And then I'll show you the new library revision. Let me blow it up a little bit.
So we'll call that clock Catherine's clock, huh?
Yes. So this is the, again, this is, none of the back classrooms here have changed at all. So we actually got a better book storage room out of this. So again, kids now have class sets of books. So we don't like kids or want kids to have to lug their books in their backpacks back and forth each day.
Right. You might point out if they go to that view at the top of their screen and go to 50%, you can see it all at once.
You can blow it up. Yeah. If you want.
No, you want to shrink it so that you can see the entirety of the building.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When we're looking at your screen, we're just seeing little pieces of it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So again, the back there, but my point being is that, so what happens is the librarians check out books to students, right? It's all electronic now, so that the department heads don't have to have all their textbooks in their room, and the teachers don't have to have that hassle of giving out books. So it's done through the library, the beautiful book storage room now that we have, instead of stacking them all up in the library, right? Very similar to what we had in the past with the breakout rooms. You'll see that, again, I lost out on the dome architect kind of library aesthetic that they've put in, right, with the dome there. So I said, hey, let's just put a roof, domes leak. And I lost that fight with the architect and Mr. Bonin, and that's okay. So, but yeah, that, a beautiful sitting area, right, that ties right into the library there. It'll be really nice. They've tied the career center in terms of outdoor areas there. You got an extra classroom that we gained, a teacher workroom on this side, right? The restroom, storage room. But again, a beautiful facility, all right out that feeds right out to the quad, right? Right next to the multi-purpose room. So kids can go in at lunch or resource time or after school. So in some ways, it actually logistically may actually be a better space long term. Any questions on that? Ellen.
Yeah, can you just tell me briefly, as school starts, how much shifting around is going to be going on and where classrooms will be located during the construction, and if we're anticipating throughout the year kids having to move and teachers having to move around and all that? What is that going to look like?
So they have SLO High, actually, they're using less. Now with the B wing open, of course, all the science teachers moved into their science rooms, right? We gained Tim Fay's area, right? We gained the CAD lab. We gained the computer lab that's over by the wood shop for a classroom. So they are actually using less adult education classrooms up at J than they did last year. So from an overall class count, we're actually in a better space than we were last year. From a construction standpoint and kids moving around the campus, maybe not so much, right? So the getting from the 500 building into the B building, into the 100 South Side is going to be, is going to be a little more difficult for kids, right? But as soon as that southern quad is done, that will make it a lot easier, which is why we left the steps from the 500 building to B in place right now. So to try to alleviate that and help with that. So again, they put together maps to share with students and staff and, send out like they have in previous years. Kids are resilient. I'll just leave it at that. Like there's
accessible ways to get between those buildings.
Oh no, there is, but I'm not going to candy coat it. Right. It is a construction zone happening, right? You got concrete being mashed and all kinds of things happening, right, in that quad area in between classrooms, and even with the construction in the middle section of the 100 building, right, and now going into a lot of the demo and abatement stuff will be done in the northern end, right? We'll be in, hopefully bring a GMP for construction for that, but I still think from a student standpoint, having that whole front of campus back is huge.
And will they be able to manage with getting through or around or whatever it takes with the construction area during the allotted passing period time?
We're gonna find out. I
Okay.
think so. I think so. I mean, they listen.
Learn as we go.
Those kids have hiked up that hill, right? They've hiked up J2.
Right.
And we had 5 or 6 classes up at the district office, right? So, and they made it work. And so, will teachers have to be a little flexible at times? Yeah, they will, right? But you know, we'll see how it goes and manage accordingly. We've walked the campus with the site. Chris has, Steve has. You know, we've tried to make as many access points as possible, right? Which is why you'll see some of those construction fences and walkways together, because, you know, we want to make it as smooth a flow as possible. And so we've talked about it, both at Morro Bay High too. So there, you know, it does concern me there, like with food and lunch and where kids are going to hang out. And really, until we see kids, until you see the first couple of days of school and what it really looks like, we will adjust accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
You know,
Plus, Morro Bay's flat. You know, San Luis High is.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. There's still, I mean, a large section of Morro Bay High with that A building and C building under construction. Like, it's still, you got to walk away. There's a dirt path between, you know, next to the gym and the pool area there from the quad, because they're putting all the infrastructure in for those buildings. So it's still a construction zone happening.
well, I was going to kind of add to what Ellen said. I think it's going to be real important that we make sure that any students with disabilities are able
Absolutely.
to navigate the campus and not be penalized, you know, if it's harder for them to get from one building to another. So,
Agreed.
thank
It
you.
was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Chris can attest to when I went to the Morro Bay High meeting on Thursday. I said, "Hey, what dirt path? What any kids with wheelchairs? What are we going to do?" So that's on their mind, of course. So again, a lot, as you can see, a lot happening, right? A lot going on with Measure D, a lot projects wise. I feel super fortunate in terms of where we're at, getting things done and really looking forward to being able to share more and more. The nice part is the kids now, even though they're dealing with construction, are getting to utilize a lot of these brand new spaces, right? So I think that's the nice part for them, is they're actually, you know, it's not like before. You know, a couple of years ago, those poor kids were in a construction zone and there wasn't anything completed yet, right? They weren't in new classes or new facilities or new gyms or pools or things. So this is, you know, I think it's just nice. And for staff too, to be able to utilize some of these spaces, you know, there were some smiles on some science teachers' faces as I went around yesterday and took photos, right? Which is what we want to see. We want people to take pride in these facilities. So that's really for me, you know, I look forward to kind of walking the board around, kind of sharing that with you. Again, we are, Chris, Ron and myself met with Gary and his team to review the kind of updated facility master plan. So they're kind of putting the finishing touches on that. So I look forward to kind of the next phase will be what I'd like to do is share that with the board, kind of, again, in this preliminary phase still, kind of get your input on some of the things that we're looking at in terms of potential changes, so that we can kind of put the finishing touches on that and then share that with the public as we move forward. But we're very close, I think, on kind of bringing that forward to the board. And with that, Mr. Unger, that's all I have. So Chris, you're muted. I don't know if the public has any questions on Measure D.
You know, yeah, what I was going to say is, thank you very much, Ryan. No, I was going to say before we move on to the public comment, to see if board members had any further questions or anything like that. Marilyn, that followed by Mark.
Yeah, I just had one in flipping the library in that 100 building. Do we have to go back through DSA because of making that change? And is that gonna slow progress?
Yes.
Wow.
Simple answer is yes.
But minimally, I would say, right? So the bigger issue for me, Marilyn, is that what would have been horrible is if our contractors were at the phase where they were actually constructing that upper end and then we stopped work.
No, I
fortunately-
totally get why we
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
But the wall changes up top is
True.
what it's our, I don't think, in talking with Gary and talking with RM, they don't necessarily see those changes causing 9-month delays or anything like that. These are pretty short, especially at the upper end where we're just putting some classroom walls in, because we didn't change the rest, like the restrooms are the same, the elevator's the same, the digital classrooms are all the same. So it's really, I think, of all changes, that relatively minor in talking about it, right? Chris, what did Gary tell us in terms of timeline?
So he said, remember right, it was a month and a half to 2 months, talking to Acme, working through it. They still have work upstairs they can do. The whole exterior wall system, that keeps them moving. So as soon as we get the second floor finalized, the layout here, because we're still going back and forth on adjustments, they can submit that to, actually, they go back to their subs and then redesign, because they have to do fire, electrical, data, all that, and that's probably about 4 weeks, and then it goes back to DSA.
We
So,
did break it into two pieces.
yes,
So the library downstairs is on a different track than the 102nd story, so that we can get to
Great.
say the fastest. So it's, I
The
mean,
key is that they can continue to construct the upper end, right? And they're doing a ton of work on the
Yes.
bottom still. So as long as we can keep that contractor rolling in terms of the
So-
actual time delay of finishing the project, we hope to keep that as little as possible.
it probably won't be as bad as we think, just because there's a lot to do on the first floor. It has the district kitchen in there, which is a lot of work, and that'll keep them
Oh.
going. So Acme's not too concerned right now about the delay and the change.
Okay, great.
I think, Mark, you had a question?
Yes, thanks, Chris. I just want to say, when we get these overall updates, I am just in awe. There are so many moving pieces, so I wanted to say thanks. Absolutely amazing.
Shit.
Other questions from board members or comments at this point? I will go to the public to see if there's anybody from the public who would like to address us on this item only. Mrs. Dawson, can you check for that, please?
Brian Krill has raised his hand.
Okay, hold on here, Brian. Let me get my stopwatch ready. And Brian, are you ready? Brian?
The video's coming.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna take all of 20 seconds. I really appreciate this being open to the public, regardless of the lack of participation or inability to participate. It's really great having that information firsthand. So I know you guys get a lot of constructive criticism, feedback, and it's not coming from me, but I appreciate the venue. So that's it.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. Mrs. Dawson, is there anyone else?
There is not.
Okay, as I said, we did have a written public comment. Dr. Eisendrath Rogers, would you like to read that, please?
Sure thing. This is dated 8/12/21, and it's from Devon Ruan. And it says, I would like to thank the board for following state guidelines and supporting the mask mandate in our schools. An online article on CNN posted today showing for this 2021-22 school year, the schools who are following masking guidelines are successfully maintaining classes without disruption. I do have concerns about my 5th grader returning to school in person when he is not able to receive a vaccine yet because of age. I decided to search the SLC-USD website to find out what the school day will look like and how he will be protected from COVID. I reread parent square posts from administration. My main concern is when I read that masks will come off during outdoor time. While I understand that everyone needs a break from masks, my mind instantly pictures groups of children clustered on the play structure, unmasked. I picture recess looking like the super spreader events we read about in the media. I want to give the district the benefit of the doubt, So as I said before, I reread all of the communication from the school principal, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent. The language between these postings differ slightly from, quote, mask-free time outdoors, quote, to, quote, opportunities to shed their protective masks safely, end quote, to most alarmingly, quote, when outside no masks are required, end quote. I did ultimately find the reassuring guideline I was looking for and hoping for. It states face coverings may not be removed during recess and other unstructured outdoor time if 6 feet of physical distance cannot be maintained. Shoot, I felt reassured slightly. Because I find this information, I had to go to the SLC-USD website, click on COVID-19 updates, open the link to the COVID-19 safety plan and working guidelines, scroll down 13 pages, and open the link to the Word document for the SLC-USD COVID-19 prevention program, and then read this information on page 11. My point is that I strongly encourage the district to better highlight this caution, this safety precaution. It allows parents time to dialogue with their children and prepare them for what to expect. And it honestly makes me feel better. Communication is the key here. Please don't continue to give different levels of information on what is expected during outdoor time. Thank you very much for all of your hard work and dedication.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ruane. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I don't think the board has any further business, so the meeting will be adjourned until Tuesday. Dr. Prater, at this point, are we planning a closed session time at 5, or do you think we'll go straight into open session at 6?
Yeah, at this point, I am not planning a closed session for the board on Tuesday, so we'll begin our meeting at 6 o'clock in J2, as well as offering it virtually on Zoom.
Great, and that would be, again, in case, unless something comes up that we do need to meet in closed session on. So I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting this morning, and we'll see you all next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. Thank you.